In the previous part, we have successfully installed the Passport Laravel package. And in this part, what we want is to create some authentication routes like register, login, and logout. Even though the Passport package by default adds some routes and we can get the token, but for that what we need is, as you saw in the previous part, every time we need this client ID and also this client secret. So this is not a good practice to store this client ID and client secret on the client side and every time use it, but rather what we want is to create the methods for the register, login, and logout to pass those tokens from the server side. And to do that, what we need is, first of all, let me stop the server, clear it, and I'm going to write PHP artisan make controller to create a controller, and I'm going to name it as auth controller. So after successful creation of auth controller, we need a public function register first of all, and this register will accept a request. Okay, so this request type is Illuminate HTTP request, and for the request what we want is some parameters, and these parameters are basically the user table, columns and first name, last name, bio. So in the migration part, we missed to add a nullable part to this text, because at the first time we don't want the user to add the bio and also add the profile picture. Later on, the user is able to edit the profile and can add the profile picture and bio. So I have added this part. Right now, let me do one thing: PHP artisan migrate, and this is fresh because we want to delete everything, and what we need is PHP artisan db seed to seed the data into our database. See how flexible this is. And what we need is PHP artisan passport install, because this should add the keys into our clients. So let me go back to the database, refresh it, and see that we have the clients. Yes, we have. And also if I select from the structure, we can see that bio part is right now has a default of null. So we are okay with that. And right now what we need is first name, last name, email, and password. So let me copy these things, and I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to paste it. But before anything else, what you need is to validate any request that you are getting from a client. So how we can validate it? We can use a validator, a custom validator. I'm going to use the validator class, and this is coming from the support facade, and we can make a validation. And for that, what we want is, first of all, to pass our request and request.all, and we can pass an array to validate. Okay, so the first thing that we want is our first name, and remember that from our client side it doesn't need to be like this first underscore name, because this is a PHP and MySQL convention and we do not need it. But mostly in our client side like Flutter and also JavaScript, we will be using the camel case. So this would be our convention, so hereafter. So our first name is required, and also it is a string, and maximum to 55. The same thing we have for our last name, and we have for our email, and email is a string, max to 55. It is type email, and also it is unique on table users. So this should be unique because a user cannot add one email multiple times. And we have the password. So this password is required, and also we have a type of string, max to 55, minimum This should be at least 6 characters, and also this needs to be confirmed. Okay, confirmed. And we have it right now. So you might learn about this validation if you go to the Laravel site, and just here we have the validation. Inside the basics we have the validation, and you can learn all about the validation and how you can use this validation. See here we have the required uniques on post maximum 255, and we have all these things that you can learn and you can use it. Okay, so hopefully we validate it, and right now what we can do is check if this validator, if this fails. You can see that this fails, it returns boolean. If it fails, means this is not validated. What we want is to return a response, and this response should say should just return all the, but we can say return this one, and we call it errors, and these errors are basically the validator, and this validator has errors that we can use. So this will pass all the errors, and also with the code 452 means some content exceptional. And right now let me test this one, how we can test it. But before that, what we want is to add this route in our api.php. So we have a route, and also we want to prefix it, and this should be prefixed with auth, and we want to group it, and we will have function, a closure basically it is. And here what we want is, first of all, the route is post, and this is register. So basically this will be, let me add a comment, this will be auth, this will be api dash auth dash register. So the prefix will add this auth, and we have this coming from the auth controller and register method. Okay, so we have this right now, and let me run our server. Let me clear this one, and php artisan serve. So our server is running, and right now if I create another route, and I will call it, and sorry, the method is post, we have the local host and auth API. Now this is 8000 because our server is currently running at port 8000, and we have localhost 8000 API auth register. If I just send it, you can see that we got these errors because we are validating, and it says that first name, last name, email, and password fields are required. So basically the validator is like that, and currently we validate it, and if the validation fails, what we want is just returning this message. And if not, if it is not failing, what we want is to create a user. So this is a new user. This user is user model. Basically it is inside our app and user. So what we need to do is user first name is equal to at request first name, and this is a camel kiss. Make sure we have the last name, so I am going to just do it like this. Last name, we have the user email, and it is equal to request email, and we have the password. Sorry, this should be user password, and it is, we need to use the bcrypt function to hash the password. Basically it's encrypted, and what we want is to pass the request password to that password. So we are done, and right now what we need to do is user and save. So we can save the user. After successful creation of this user, what we want is to create the token. So to create the token, but before that, let me test it whether we are getting it right or wrong. So what we want is to pass this object to have the first, last name, email, and password, And right now what we can do is go to this API register, and inside the body choose the raw method, and before that add the content type as application JSON. No, sorry, JSON. And right now what we need is to create this object, first name. This should be, suppose, John. Last name Doe. Email johndoe@email.com. And for the password what we have is, suppose, the password. Okay, so right now if I send it, you can see that the password, okay, the password confirmation. So this is why this is coming from where, because here if you see we have the confirmed, and this confirmed, let me show it from the validation. Control F, I'm going to search for the confirmed. Here we have the confirmed. For the confirmed, you can see that the field under validation must have a matching field, suppose foo confirmation. For example, if we are using it for password, it needs to be password dash confirmation. So I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to the postman, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it here, password confirmation, and this should be exactly like your password. So we have the password here, and also for the confirmation, password. So if I send it right now, we got nothing because it's saved, but we didn't return any response. So let me go to the database and select from the, let me close all these things, and let me just select from the user, and what we want is to order by ID and descending. So let me select it. So we have the John Doe, and we got it, but we stored it, but we didn't return anything. So I'm going to delete this one because we are going to return something. And right now what we want is to create a token once this login, or this registration was successful. What we want is to create a token for this user, and for that what we want is to just use the user and create, what we can say, create token. So we can have a name for that. So basically this is a personal access token, so you can give any name, and this create token will give you the personal access token result. So here basically we have the token result, so the token result. And also if we just return it like this, it's okay, but what we can do is we can play a little bit with this token result. So we can generate a token from that, and this token is equal to token result, and we can get the token from it. And also we can add to this token, suppose we can add the expiration date, and token expires at, suppose, and we can just use the carbon, and for the carbon we can use the now function, and then we can add weeks. So we want 1 week, so this token will expire at 1 week. So basically what we are doing is we are just customizing this token, and then what we want is to just save this token because we added something to it. So token dash save, and so this will save it. And what we want is right now to just return response, and this response has two things. First of all, the content, and also the code, or the status code. So we have status code of 200. So we can have the access token, and this access token is basically our what we can say, token result, token. We have the token type, bearer, and also we have the expires at. So this expires at, what we can say is, to what it needs to do is carbon.parse to parse it, because, and also we need to call the to the time string. We need to just convert it to a string, and then what we want is this token, and our token expires at. Okay, so right now if I just go back to my what they can say, the postman, and send it, and hopefully we just got everything. We got the access token, and we need to just get this token from this one, client ID and everything. Okay, sorry, I think I missed something here. So we need to get the token. Oh, sorry, we need to just access token, not the token. So if I right now, let me go back to our database and just select it again, and I'm going to delete this John Doe, because you can see that we can add unique numbers or unique emails, not multiple times. So hopefully we have this access token right now, and we hopefully registered the user, and we can just use it. Okay, so the same thing we can do for our login. So I'm going to copy this one and till here, and what we need is just, I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to change the name to login. We need a request. I'm going to delete everything, and what we want is this validator. This, we don't need this one, and also we don't need this unique anymore, so because that was for validation, and this doesn't need a confirmed, and also minimum and maximum. Okay, so it is basically required, so we can add maximum 255 to it, but it's okay. So we have this validation, and right now if it fails, we just want to return it, and we don't need this user. Rather, what we need is the credentials, or if we can authenticate it by using the auth facade, auth attempt, and we need to pass credentials. For that, this attempt needs email, so basically it is request email, and also we need the password, which is request password. So password. So we are done with this one, and right now if we just if we attempt and we logged in, so basically we successfully logged in, and if not, if fails, then we are just returning it. Okay, so after successful login, if attempt, because this will return a boolean, and after that what we have is the user. So right now we can have access to the user by request user, just we can get it like this. And the same thing here, we can add this part, the same thing we can add it for this one. So basically the only difference is that here we do not create the user, rather we are just using it. Okay, one thing else that you can do for this part, you can have something like, if you add it like credentials, because it is better, and also you can use the request, and for that you just from the request you can get the email and also the password. So this will create the equivalent to that one, so it is more clean, I believe. And here you just pass the credentials, so it is more clean right now. And right now if I just test it whether I can have access or not, let me go and first of all let me create the login part of this. Basically this is also a post, so we have the login and we have the login function. And for the login also I'm going to copy this one, just create another one. This is login, and we have the login. For the body I'm going to first add the header, so we have the authorization, sorry, the content type, the content type, which is application JSON, and also we have the object, JSON object. First we have the email, and for the email we need to pass it, and also we have the password. So this password is just password. So I'm just going to copy the email that we have added, and it is johndoe@example.com, and I'm going to paste it here. And right now if I send it and we get an error because the get, it is a get method, sorry, it should be a post method. So if I send it, yeah, we got the access token. So we successfully implemented the login part as well. But if you see here, if you see in the auth controller, you have this repeated code. You can see the auth result, everything is repeated between the login and also the register part. So this is not a good practice when you are developing the apps, or there is a concept called don't repeat yourself or dry. So for that you can add a private function. So private function, and this is the, what we can say, get response. We can name it as this one. So we can see that between these two we only have this user in common. So this user is variable. So the first thing, we create the user, the first one in the register part, and the later here we are getting it in after successful login. So we need to pass this user as a parameter, user, and the rest of the thing what we can do is just copy it from here and just paste it. That's it. So we have everything for the user. We don't need this part even, and that's it. So right now what we can do is, instead of just repeating ourselves many times, I'm going to delete everything. It is basically for this one, and I am just going to return this get response, and what I'm going to do is to pass the user. So basically we can call it by this.getResponse because this is a private function. Okay, I'm going to just a little bit format it. This is for this one, and for the this one as well. For the register part, we can do is just return this and get response, and we need to pass the user. So let me test it, whether we are getting it right or wrong. Let me first of all clean this part as well. We don't need it anymore, and I think that's it. So if I just go here and log in, yeah, we got the same result. That's it. And for the register part, it also works. So right now what we want is the last part, and that is our logout function. So I am going to put it before this one. So we have the public function logout, and for this we need a request, and what we want is, first of all, that this logout should be authenticated, and for that we can use a middleware, and for the middleware we can put this one, auth API. So this middleware will just ensures that this user is authenticated to have access to the logout function. So this is logout. And also what I'm going to do is, basically I am going to add another one, and I'll call it as user, and this is also just user, and I am going to just copy this part, even not copying, just going to delete it basically, and I am going to add this function, user function, inside my app controller. So public function user, and it also requires a request. Just what we want is to return the request and user from it. So basically this will return the authenticated user specification. And also for the logout part, what we want is return a request, and from the request what we want is the user, and also request token, and for the token what we want is to revoke it. So this is all about the logout. That's it. So we have the logout and we have the user. So first let me test this one and this user, and then we can just go for the logout part. For the user part, what we can do is just write like it is a get method. It should be a get method. So let me go here. It is post. No, it should be a get method, and also this should be a get method. This is not login, it is logout. That's it. Oh my god, how many errors we had. Okay, so we have a get method, and that is localhost 8000, and for the 8000 we have the auth and user. So if I right now send it like this, you can see we get an error because it is not authenticated. So how we can authenticate it? Just by passing the authorization here in our header. So basically this is a bearer, the type is bearer, and if you remember we just authenticated using this login. So this is our last token that we have. Just we need to use this one, bearer for space, and we just need to pass the token. And if I send it right now for the body, you can see that we got our user specification. So basically we are here just returning the authenticated user. So we got it. And also for the response, for the logout part, what we need is first of all to logging it out, and at least to return a response. And this response should just say that successfully logged out, and we pass the code of 200. That's it. Let me clean it. Okay, and right now if I just copy this one or just put it as logout, because everything is the same, what we need is the authorization and also the token. So if I run it, we successfully log out. And right now if I try to access the user, because we are logged out, we are not able to do it, and we are redirecting. Later on we will just we'll configure this one, because we don't want to get this route not defined error. We want a specific error, and we will solve this problem. So thank you for watching. This was all about the authentication part, and we successfully we configured our API routes, and we have the register, login, logout, and also we can get the auth user or authenticated user. So thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe and hit the bell button so you do not miss the next video.